All right, fight the alignment. Lawful neutral. Wow. Now this is a big one. As we get closer, moving quote unquote up the alignment ladder, it becomes more and more difficult for, or seemingly more difficult for a game master to include creatures or elements that possess like a lawful neutral style alignment. Now I'm not in support, I'm not doing these videos in support of an alignment system. I'm just doing them as a method of coming to a generalization of your NPCs and encounters and how player characters can use the alignment to confront those enemies that have that kind of outlook and use them. So I've not really supported the alignment itself, just how that alignment looks out on the world and how to fight it. So your player characters, and you come across a nation, a town, a village, an individual that is lawful neutral. Well, what you're going to find is that lawful neutral has a huge strength. And their strength comes from tradition and time-tested techniques, right? So, as was mentioned in another comment, and I would absolutely add this for lawful evil as well. Lawful evil, lawful neutral, you got to picture yourself Spartan warriors. You got to picture yourself Greek and Roman, like that organized fighting with tower shields where everyone just, works together as a unit. These time-tested ancient combat techniques, the teachings of Sun Tzu and the way of war, and the lawful neutral has so many time-tested techniques in battle, in government, in tradition, in survival, in society, that it's very difficult to break a lawful neutral encounter. So, for example, a lawful neutral nation has a time-tested method of feeding its population. Whether the weather is good or bad, crops die, and there's a drought or something. There's probably something in place to say, okay, everybody, now's the time of the drought. Everyone's going to eat a half of their rations. Everyone's going to put things into a pool. The king's going to disseminate, to those that need it and those that don't. And we are going to divert the river. We're going to use the dam and divert the river to water the fields as best as we can. We're going to survive this. Everyone knows their place and what to do. Come on, people, let's go. That's lawful neutral. For good or bad, those are the rules, right? Now, lawful neutral also has this, shall I say, darker sacrificial element to it. So you have this technique where, you have this situation where someone asks a question and says, okay, there's a cave-in and you only have two exits out of the cave. One exit out of the cave says you can save everybody, but there's only a 50-50 chance everyone lives or dies. So if you go down one side of the cave, 50-50 chance, 100% of the people live, 100% people die. And the other side of the cave, you are guaranteed one half of your people will die, but you're also guaranteed one half of your people will live. Lawful neutral picks B. They're like, we know one half of our people will survive. Boom, let's pick B. That's it. Their lawful neutral is not about taking grand chances on anything. What's worked in the past will work today. If it didn't work in the past, they've gotten rid of it. That they will tend to have an extensive legal system. They will have a guard network that is overlapped and not very easy to overcome. They will have a military organization from everything from a 3-member squad all the way up to a whole battalion that is well trained both in times of peace and war. So then you wonder, well, how do I fight something that's lawful neutral? Again, similar to lawful evil, you're going to have to understand their inner workings. They have rules and regulations on how things work. Throwing a monkey wrench into that is going to be your only chance. Now, they will have checks and balances, but the heavier a bureaucracy is, the easier it is to manipulate it, especially when someone in the middle of that bureaucracy who doesn't know what goes on above them and has no interest in what goes below them has to make a decision. And they will err in favor of their form and their bureaucracy. For example, player characters need to sneak into town. They want to hide in a cart. They get to the town guard. The town guard says, "Hold there." Okay? You have a cart and 2 horses. It will cost you 3 copper pieces to enter into town, and we must inspect your cart. Player characters are like, "Oh man, we're going to inspect the cart." They're taking poles and poking through the cart. They're going to look in. They're going to see our friends, and they're hiding. Guardsmen, do you have to go into the cart? It's unnecessary. No, it is our job to look into the cart. We have to look into the cart. No exceptions. Okay. Now this is where the player characters have to be smart. Are there actual exceptions to looking in the cart? Well, maybe there is. Maybe there is a royal seal or a decree that they can show these guards, whether it's fake or stolen or actually given to them. Maybe there is another method where if there's a distraction, all the guards will go to the distraction. So it could be, hey guards, you were supposed to inspect all the cargo, unless, of course, you see banditry and people being attacked, in which case, of the 2, go after the bandits. Don't worry about the carts. That might be a rule that they go by. Oh, the guardsman says, "Oh, everyone gather. We must go after the bandits." So the player characters create this fake banditry, or maybe there's real bandits. Player characters sneak inside, roll inside. Could be that the guards remember, hey, we didn't inspect that cart, so when they see you later on, they might want to, get those 3 copper pieces and inspect that cart. But Lawful Neutral is extremely organized and will tend to have a city with a very good layout. Even small villages will have specific locations where there's food, possibly medicine, where they clean and cook their meals and slaughter their animals. If they are hunter-gatherers, they will absolutely positively have certain rules and regulations in their own small community as to when they hunt, when they gather, how they handle the different kinds of weather. There's also something else. Because Lawful Neutral is so organized that most of the conflict will come from the fact that they do things on a regimented basis. So, for example, would be troops are always sent to the northern region during the 2 coldest months to test the defenses of the enemy. Or during the harvest, most of the male population goes out to hunt so that they can get smoked meat for their people. Well, that could come into conflict with people next to them. Maybe the Viking barbaric nation up north is like, oh, here they come again. They're always testing our defenses. We're going to have to fight them. Maybe this harvest and this hunt always goes into the Dreadwood, and the druids and the rangers that live in the Dreadwood are like, you need to stop. We keep telling you over and over again, if you don't cut it out, we're just going to slaughter all your hunters. And hunters are like, well, we need that to feed our people. You have plenty of animals in the Dreadwood. And, of course, the druids that live in the Dreadwood are like, it doesn't matter how many animals live in the Dreadwood. They are Dreadwood animals. They live here, mofos. Get the hell out. So Lawful Neutral may not understand or even want to understand how someone else's community acts. There's a tradition. We always do this as a tradition. We're going on. Now, some of the mistakes that Lawful Neutral will make will be that they are reluctant to change the way they do things until it really starts to harm their community. So, if there is a method of taking care of their dead, and their dead turn into zombies or ghosts or wraiths or something, they may have done this for a couple of generations till they realize, maybe we shouldn't be urinating and defecating on our dead. Maybe there's some other way we should do this. And then someone says, maybe we should burn them or bury their bodies, or at least wish them good luck in the afterlife. And then it takes a little while for them to adopt the new things. So lawful neutral can have some pretty, let's say, pretty harsh punishments for criminals. And the player characters are like, we shouldn't have public hangings and executions. And lawful neutral's like, hey, it's worked for us for centuries. Why should we change it? The other thing about lawful neutral is that they will, not only will they have great battle tactics, that in smaller numbers they can be pretty hard to fight. They'll stick together. They will use not just hit and run techniques, but they will use battle techniques to prevent themselves from being flanked, from being snuck up on. They will have lookouts, and they tend to have the lawful individuals, NPCs, monsters tend to be better equipped because they will have a regimented method of creating arms and armor and have an armory available for themselves. So lawful neutral troops will take care of their equipment. There's a possibility they may have some masterwork weapons, especially their commanders and their leaders. God damn it. Lawful neutral will do all these things. I apologize. Lawful neutral is extremely organized, and so therefore it requires very intelligent player characters. The last thing to fight lawful neutral is chaos. If the player characters are unpredictable, they do some strange, bizarre things, break out into song and dance in the middle of a fight, summon a giant teddy bear, light themselves on fire for no reason. I'm just coming up with dumb stuff. But they because lawful neutral tends to fall back on time-tested techniques, maybe the player characters go, we're not going to fight you, we give up. And they go, okay, let's tie them up and take them into town. Maybe that's the easiest way to get past the walls that have never been breached before. Rules say enemy gives up, we take the enemies in. Okay, now you're inside. Okay, I use my frost spell to turn my ropes into to freeze them and then shatter them, and I do that same thing for my friends, and then we start a big old fight in the courtyard. Blah 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 blah. Another thing to watch out for with lawful neutral is that when it comes to magic and when it comes to religion, they can have some pretty extreme thoughts about those things. Magic might be illegal within city limits of any type because the king they tried to assassinate the king with a shape changer and the doppelganger was killed. And side note, the son of the king actually impregnated the doppelganger, and the doppelganger actually gave birth to the child, and the child is being held. Anyway, so the king was snuck up on by a shape changer, so now the king is afraid of any kind of magic, especially transformation magic. Maybe religion was unable to save the king's daughter, and the king's daughter was cursed and went off into the Dreadwood and joined forces with a dark army. And rumor has it that the look upon her visage would turn you to stone. And, beseeched the church and said, you need to save my daughter. And the church is like, dude, we don't have no dispel magics, not at our level. And the king is like, well, to hell with you. There are no churches in this town. And you can just flat out no religion. Or they may have particular restrictions. Hey, you want to be a cleric in here? You must go to the temple, tithe at the temple, and present yourself. So there can be some extreme rules to protect against things that have happened in a lawful neutral community, and the player characters will have to decipher, like, why does everyone boil their water? Or why does everyone wear a red hood over their head? Or why does everyone stop at noon to look up in the sky and close their eyes? It could be for any number of reasons. Why at the tavern they don't serve grog, they only serve hot tea and wine. maybe it's been outlawed, or they haven't had it yet, or someone tried to poison. Maybe someone tried to poison the well of the water, and so now they need to boil their water. Or there's a perfectly good well in the middle of the town, but they actually divert a river from somewhere else into the city, which is taking water away from the wood elves, and the wood elves are like, you need to have your own water supply and not steal ours. And the lawful neutral people are like, look, we need water. Someone poisoned our well. We're just going to take yours. It worked. We have aqueducts. We know how to create them. That's what we're using. So, long story short, lawful neutral, very organized. Be careful if you're a mage. They are not used to chaos. And as always, create some great encounters. Do not destroy that organic and creative element when using those lawful neutral creatures and or NPCs against your player characters. Thanks a lot.